Hello and welcome. We are Tools in the Shed, powered by CarsGuide. Ready to rip into car stuff that's caught our eye this week. I'm James, and with me are James Lisle, better known as J3, because we have so many damn Jameses in the team, who's keen to update us on the Paris Motor Show and the latest offensive in the German Big Three's mid-size car wars, as well as Richard Berry, who's driven in some heavy artillery from the exact same battle.
Absolutely.
And we'll check in with a slightly less great and powerful dear leader in this week's Muskwatch. So stay with us. But first, J3, the Paris Motor Show. Not quite the massive event it has been in past years, but for you, there's an obvious standout release. Fill us in on Paris,
Yep.
And then your favourite.
So at the Paris Motor Show, we saw a lot of things from it. So there's developments in EV drivetrains to further commitments in autonomous technology. That's nothing really new. But the one thing that really got my attention was the BMW 3 Series.
Right.
Because, of course, manufacturers can promise and say, oh, we're going to be doing this, or this is our vision for the future. But cars like the C-Class Mercedes and BMW 3 Series, that's where it comes down to the ground. That's the technology that you see it. That's
people are buying it.
Yeah, that's where people get their hands on it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really interest me to say these are hypothetical scenarios because when something is on the 3 Series, it's there.
It's because you have no imagination.
Yes.
But otherwise, let's go with the 3 Series.
And also for me, this is going to be the first 3 Series that has come out in a post-Jaguar XE and Alfa Romeo Giulia world.
Yeah. That's
so,
good.
As we've all seen, BMW 3 Series, they're not around for like 4 years before they get replaced. They're here for a long time. The last gen, the who cares? The last generation, that was around for what, 8-9 years, something like that? Was it that long?
Yeah, I suppose one thing that's worth noting is that BMW is one of the brands that doesn't hold back for a new model to introduce tech. That the 3 Series you'll see now, look at the same car, broadly looks the same. In a couple of years, it'll have a lot of extra stuff in it. They just, as soon as they've got something, they'll introduce it into the car. So it does evolve.
Yeah, whereas Mercedes Benz, they like to facelift their cars like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Mazda too, they do that all the time.
Just on the Mazda 2?
Mazda 2 is in like Mazda as well.
Oh,
Mazda 2 is very good, though.
Thank you, J3.
Yeah. So seeing as the new generation, the G23 Series, is going to be out for a while, it'd be really good to see what preventative measures BMW have taken to stop it from being outclassed in like, say, 2-3 years or something.
So like future-proofing it?
Yeah, future-proofing it.
Yep.
So
I do like the screens that they've put on board, though.
Yeah.
They've got finally they've got a proper virtual instrument cluster.
Yes. So there's a whole bunch of new tech coming in. We've reported recently that it's going to come with AI that'll read your emotions. So as
Jesus, what does it do in response? Particularly if you're driving the car.
Apparently, it'll change the light, it'll change the sound, it'll change your music.
We don't think you should be driving, James.
Yes. So please, sir, please pull
over to the curb.
Yeah.
But of course, let's talk about the design. So from the images, if anybody's seen them, they resemble the 5 Series a lot. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, that's... what do you guys think?
BMW is very skilled, as is any mature automotive brand, in recognising, in design terms, its history, as well as the cars with which it lives currently.
Yeah.
So you'll instantly recognise it as a BMW, but you'll also see it as being one of the current range. So they do that beautifully well.
That's right. BMW have got their signature long bonnet, their cab back, their short overhangs, their stubby little boot, and they've had that that profile for a long time.
Yeah.
So you're right. Anyone can look at this car and will instantly know it's a BMW. My issue with it is that it just does not look different enough.
Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to bring up because with Mercedes and Audi in particular, sometimes you'll be like, is that an A4 or an A6? Or is that an A6 or an A8?
Yep.
And more often than not, you'll just have to walk around the back and be like, all right, fine, it's a A6. So I think the last generation of BMWs did this very well, where it was instantly recognizable as a BMW. Non-car people got that. But we could differentiate between the 3 Series, 5 Series, and 7 Series, whereas now it's just becoming a bit too muddled.
Does that even matter? Is it really matter? Because if someone's in the market for a BMW,
Yeah.
they'll bowl up to a dealership or go online or whatever, and they've got a certain amount of money they'd like to spend. They end up in a 3 Series.
Yeah.
Someone else has a little more money to spend. They need a slightly bigger car. They end up in a 5 Series. Are they fussed whether their car looks a lot like the smaller one or their small one, looks like the bigger car? Not really. I think we probably get a bit close to it and think, they all look the same. From a consumer point of view, I think that's probably a really good thing.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe reviewers of washing machines also have that same issue? It's like, geez, the Fisher and Paykel 370
looks so much like the Westinghouse
470.
or whatever it is.
Or the Westinghouse.
Yeah.
All the
That's a
same.
fridge.
Yeah.
See, I'm even getting it mixed up as to what it is.
I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it that way, but maybe there's just.
You
Maybe
just
the
want to
inner
have it
child of
clear
me.
in your
Yeah.
head what you're looking at. You
Yeah.
like it to be clearly defined, and that is a whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I'd argue that from a consumer point of view, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That if it might upset you and, it doesn't look a lot different from the last one. But if you're on a good thing, kind of, stick to it.
Absolutely.
People are liking it. Just evolve it rather than revolutionise it.
One of the things, though, that I really think needs the revolutionary treatment in BMWs is that centre stack.
Right.
I am so tired of seeing the aircon, yes, there's a new dash-top display and everything like that, but that centre stack has stayed the same since probably 1990.
Which actually, I would argue, would translate into a consumer issue. In that if you're in a 5 or 6 year old 3 Series and you think about going in to get the new one, you go, this looks just like my car. Why in the hell would I bother? There's nothing different.
Totally.
So that counts.
Yeah.
Maybe if the outside looks a lot like the other models, who cares? But if the inside looks like the car I'm currently driving, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my issue with
But
it.
it's interesting. Just on the Paris show, we're now aware that there are quite a fewer brands going to the Paris show. This time around, no Alfa, no Fiat, no Nissan, no Volkswagen, no Bentley, no Aston, no Lambo at the Paris show this year. So the full suite of car brands is not present, VW being a huge one. And you'd also argue that in Europe, Fiat is a big one to not be there. And
What
Alfa.
do you reckon the reasoning for that is? Is it they can't? Is it come down to money?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's the return on the investment.
Yeah.
Because now there are so many more ways to communicate with car buyers.
Yeah.
You've got an online environment that is just like a virtual motor show.
Well, that's it. It's a 24-hour.
Absolutely.
motor show.
You can compare and contrast, take our site, for example.
Yeah.
You can go there, look at different models, right down to different spec levels and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Then when you do finally make the decision to go and visit a showroom or a car dealership, it's like a motor show.
It
The
is.
car showrooms now are fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can experience all the different trims and all that stuff. It's a bit motor showy. So the motor show has been squeezed out of the middle ground.
Yeah. Are we seeing the death of the motor
I think
show?
we are,
do you
because
think?
take Detroit, for example, another massive one. The biggest show in North America and one of the biggest car shows. Now, they've decided to move it from a very unfriendly early January timing, which was always snowstorm time, and Detroit in winter is not a friendly place.
No.
So they said for 2020 it'll go to July 24. So summertime, great. But for next year, Merc, Jaguar, Land Rover, Audi, Porsche, Mazda, and nearly all the exotic brands have said, nah, we're not going.
Well, and see, what happens there is then you get journalists making a decision of, like, do I need to be there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those big shows, their role had changed from being a kick the tyres and shut the doors thing for consumers to being a megaphone for brands to amplify their message about their new models. That's why you increasingly had pictures and details of cars being released before the show. They didn't care whether people saw it on the day or not.
Yeah.
And then, so what purpose does it serve? Just doing that gets the job done.
Yeah.
So the actual show, from a media point of view, it was always great to turn up and see senior people and be able to ask them questions, but that's a pretty modest purpose when you're spending millions of dollars on it.
And look, especially these days, you can set up an interview over the phone or Skype or email with a company executive, which we've done. We know we've interviewed, Ruckman from Aston Martin and others just because of modern technology.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be in front of them anymore.
Yeah.
To do an interview.
So I think Blind Freddie could see that we're at the point where those big shows are diminishing in terms of stature and, frankly, the number of car brands that decide it's worth it to go there.
Yeah.
But, speaking of fantastic car brands that never shy away from anything, it's time for a word from our sponsor.
In 1914, two Aussie visionaries decided it was time for a new kind of car. After meeting face down on the floor of the Bridge Hotel in Echuca, mates Ern Alcock and Horry Wheeler began working on their dream, and 3 years later the Winton Motor Company was born. Our founders knew Australians needed a rugged car for tough local conditions with no-nonsense performance and breakthrough design. Their first production model, the 15, known to Winton enthusiasts the world over as the Mongo, was an unstoppable 15-cylinder force of nature, which set the benchmark for the Wanderers, Wildcats and Turbos that have followed in its illustrious wheel tracks. As Prime Minister Billy Hughes, standing next to the first Mongo, uttered those famous words, "She's a ute," Australians knew they had a winner on their hands. And 101 years later, Winton remains at the frontier of progress and performance, with the groundbreaking 2018 Winton Turbo exported to more than 100 countries. We think Ern and Horry would approve. The Winton Motor Company. Go Australia.
Winton. What that one word that means so much. And of course,
It does.
good friend of the show, Frosty Chops, he's back from the UN. He was trapped there for several weeks. I mean, first of all, it was the US Open Tennis in New York.
That's right.
Flushing Meadow.
Yeah.
Then he hooked up with the Donald and
Yeah.
a bit of speech writing duty at
They're
the
not
UN.
laughing at me, they're laughing with me.
Yeah, Frosty, he got on top of that one beautifully.
That was
And
Frosty's
Frosty's
strategy.
imprimatur there, yeah.
Tell them
Yeah.
he's laughing with me.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frosty got him over the hump there. And then,
No doubt.
but of course, he's back at Mount Panorama.
Yes.
Bathurst, making sure that the Winton safety car program is flowing properly.
Well, it all began for him. Well, no, it all began for him at Winton, but
At Winton.
Mount Panorama holds a special
It's
place.
pretty
in
much
Frosty's
Frosty's
heart.
home, and,
Yeah.
and Winton is very much at home there. And viewers who are having a look at the race or are heading up to Mount Panorama on the weekend, you'll see the Winton safety car. So
That's right.
any undue kind of shenanigans on the course, you'll see the Winton out there proudly, the flashing lights, all that stuff.
And it's a case of the safety car's got more grunt and more
Exactly.
dynamic ability
Exactly.
than the cars out there.
They have to
That-
throttle it right back so the supercars can actually keep up.
Apparently, the Winton needs to have fans blowing down on its aero just at low speed to maintain stability.
Yeah.
That's because it needs to be moving at plus 400.
Does
something
and
like that.
as always, Frosty's out there
Yeah.
with the troops,
Yeah.
mixing among
Yeah.
the fans up at the top of the mountain.
He sleeps.
He sleeps out. Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't bother with all that corporate hospitality rubbish.
No.
Yeah,
We've got a pic of him somewhere.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so viewers on
yeah.
on YouTube will see we grabbed a candid snap of Frosty taking 40 winks after a fairly big night out in Bathurst. He knows his way around the nooks and crannies of the town.
He knows he's moved around Forest Elbow. That's
All
for
right,
sure.
so good on you, Frosty. And Richard,
Yes.
you have recently, we were talking about the 3 Series and its importance, and another big part of that big three war, Audi, BMW, Mercedes Benz,
Yep.
is of course the latter, Merc.
Yes.
And you've been behind the wheel of the C-Class.
Yeah, Mercedes Benz C-Class. Now, it's not a new generation car like the BMW 3 Series that debuted in Paris. But Mercedes-Benz were quite keen to let us know that 6,500 parts have been changed or modified on this new, in inverted commas, Mercedes-Benz C-Class.
And do you know, what does that roughly represent in terms of like how many is there in total?
There's 13,000 exactly
30,000.
parts.
Okay, so half the car.
Yes, not 13,000. Actually, that was my question.
Right.
Everyone else was asking, political questions about diesel and everything. I just said, how many parts are there?
Yeah, exactly.
And
fair question.
And
Asking the basic stuff there. Yeah.
Horst, the head of Mercedes-Benz looked at me and, and the PR people were left a bit scrambling and I said, it's about half. So there's 13,000. So there's about 6,500 is about half the sum total of the
What
parts
if they
in
count the
Mercedes-Benz
bolts
C-Class.
and the washers and the nut, or is just that
Is that
just one?
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
Who
But
counts?
a
Yeah.
washer counts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's a part.
Oh, yeah, if you don't have that in.
You've got to order it up as a part.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it
Interesting.
adds to the cost. So, look, 6,500 parts changes half the car, so it's a completely half new car.
Yep.
But the things that you really need to know about
The front half?
they've
Is
done,
are you going the front and back, or is it the top and bottom?
they're going to do the other half in
Later.
a couple of years'
Yeah,
time.
good.
So it's all new to the B pillar. No, it's not.
It doesn't marry up quite.
No,
Yeah.
But the front half does look different.
Okay.
It's got new LED headlights, which look like they look like crazy clown teeth. Like once you see it, you won't be able to unsee that.
What are crazy
So
clowns?
like crazy sort of Batman,
Creepy clown.
Joker style sort of creepy clown teeth.
Yeah.
Wow.
You'll see it. You'll see it. Watch the video.
So
and
that
you'll
was
see
the
exactly
design
what I mean.
inspiration. All right.
I'm not sure if that was the inspiration, but that's what I see.
Okay.
So there's a new front bumper treatment, all of that type of stuff. But the real changes are inside the cabin. So they all now come standard with a 10.25-inch massive display, which sits on top of the dashboard. That's standard. In overseas markets, you've got to option that. And it also comes with a virtual instrument cluster as well.
Okay, but it's not that two-screen system like we've seen in the A-Class,
No, not like the
E-Class,
A-Class
S-Class.
one. I actually don't think that looks that good. The virtual instrument cluster in the new C-Class is under a hood, and it's shaped like a cluster. It's not just a big...
Better integrated into
Better
the whole
integrated. It doesn't just look like it's been stuck on your board
prop
from
there.
JB
Yeah.
Hi-Fi and put it on.
Yeah. With
so-
blue tack.
with blue tack. That's exactly right. Prices are up a little bit by about $1,500, but I reckon it's justified.
It's interesting,
yeah.
Richard, you mentioned that there was a feature there that's standard in Australia but optional elsewhere. And that's something that's lost in the equation when people make a simple kind of
Totally.
piece of arithmetic about, oh, look, cars are half the price in Europe or whatever. The specification that we receive, even at a base level, is very high.
I got slammed on YouTube when the video went up a few days ago by people saying, oh, we're getting ripped off in Australia because our C-Classes are so much more expensive. In America, you can buy one for $41,000. Yes, you can. In America, you can buy the C300 for $41,400, but it doesn't come with that 10.25-inch screen. It doesn't come with a virtual display. It doesn't come with leather seats.
It's got a manual change on the column, rubber
got
mats,
wind-down
and vinyl
windows,
seats. Yeah,
right?
manual cranks on the windows.
If you want those things, you've got to
Yeah.
pay for them. It's like $2,500 each for the package which contains them. So we are getting a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
They are a little bit expensive, but they're not overly expensive. We're not getting ripped off.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, look, speaking of things that we've been driving, let's walk through the CarsGuide garage for the week just past. I'll kick it off. I've been away impersonating Clark Griswold with a full vehicle. If we could put Grandma on the roof racks, we would have. There was a lot of stuff. But in a CX-9 Azami, all-wheel drive.
That's not the top one.
It's not the top one.
Not the top one. It's
That's,
just,
there's a new LE,
Yeah.
which apparently has better leather.
yeah.
And,
Real wood.
And
And
real
some
wood.
wood,
that
yeah.
So this
someone
is the one below the top one.
Someone else we know may have
Right.
been driving. Anyway, it's a 7-seater. We weren't using it as a 7-seater. We absolutely were reliant on its cargo capacity.
Yep.
And 810 litres of it. And we used every millilitre of that.
Yeah.
We absolutely crammed it. It was a scientific exercise to fit what we had in there, tents and sleeping bags and God knows what. But it's a 2.5-litre turbo 4, 6-speed auto. It's only 170 kilowatts, which is, on the face of it, not a lot for a 7-seater, but 420 newton metres. That's where I think it steps up.
And that's huge.
It's got plenty of torque and lots of equipment and features. The one thing I found it was nicely kitted out, but the ride comfort...
Yeah.
Okay, it was laden. We were driving it fully laden, but even on relatively smooth kind of B roads, I found it wasn't exactly settled. Didn't enjoy that.
What size wheels were on it?
I think they're big. I got to
Pretty
say
big,
they're
like 18s at least.
yeah, or even 19.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I don't know offhand. But yeah, obviously that's a factor. And the other thing I found was when we were doing all this loading and unloading, the door height at the back is just lethal.
I spun myself on it.
It's not even the metal part of the actual door skin. It's the thickness of the door. You know, door panels and whatever else in cars currently are so thick that you're also just... And when you've got the, solar panel that powers the sex machine on the top of your shoulders... You wear every mark. You can't hide from that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it did the job beautifully. There's air to the back, and there were USB ports to charge things up for the kids. So it was excellent in that regard. Just the ride, I think, could have been better.
Yeah. Well, look, chicks dig scars, so...
They do. It's a mark of, whatever. So, J3, your most recent experience.
Yep, I picked up the updated Mazda MX-5. That's the 2-litre one with the 135 kilowatt engine.
Yeah.
So
Which is plenty.
I've driven the pre-facelift one with the standard 2-litre engine. And one thing, every single time, second time jumping in a brand new MX-5, but yet that first instantaneous jolt of joy is still
Isn't that
fresh.
great?
Like the
That's
first
great.
when you first jump in it and you drop the roof down, which is in the RF version a huge mechanical steel thing that hides away behind you. You look at where the top of the windscreen is, and you can touch the door to your left. You can touch the windscreen up there, and it's just so comically small. And it's okay. First
I'm just
of all,
picturing Ferris Bueller's Day Off with
Yeah.
you sitting there going, doo doo dum
Yeah.
dum.
I picked it up with Marsden, and we're driving through traffic, and it was grey, it was raining, but I could not
Oh,
stop
that's fantastic.
smiling.
That's
It was
fantastic.
so fantastic. But the thing about the MX-5 is
But that was that was Marsden's company that was causing you to
yeah.
smile. The car's
Yeah.
just incidental.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about the MX-5 is that even though it's a fantastic car, the steering, the engine, the brakes, the weights of the controls, that's all great and jolly and all. But it's the sensation of the world around you because you're driving a car so small, so almost invisible on the road.
Yeah, right.
It's almost microscopic compared to most cars.
It's pretty
like a
tiny.
CX-5.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The sensation you get when you look at people on the street, like when you make a 90-degree turn on an intersection and you see everybody standing on the sidewalk.
You're quite low.
1
You are low.
meter away from you.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
You're looking at people's kneecaps.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
You are. It's like you could just touch
But
them.
I've got to say, just to be perverse, I do really quite like the simple, soft top Roadster 1.5.
Yeah.
There it is. I know everybody hand over fist is buying the 2 litre, and
Yep.
the RF is tremendously practical, and yet you have that lovely open roof feeling. I do like that little 1.5. It's light, and something about the lighter front end. There you go.
I think you're right. I think they got it right the first time.
You
that
reckon?
lower capacity engine or smaller capacity engine, that car does not need to be, supercharged, turbocharged, or even
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the feeling.
You need to work for the power that
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
And when you add more power to a car,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys know more about this than I do, but when you add
Yeah, quite
more
right.
power to a car, it distracts you from the other elements of
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, sure.
It does.
So when everything is in perfect balance with each other, in perfect equilibrium,
Yeah.
you know how well the steering is, how well the brakes are, how well the engine is. If you put an atomic bomb under the hood, you're not going to notice the fantastic steering. You're not going to notice the brakes. You're going to notice flooring it in second gear, then going, "Whoa," and then looking at your mate and going, yeah, that's
But
pretty
the
sick.
other
eh?
thing is, as we've said before, J3, when you up the power, that starts a kind of arms race
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
rest of the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need bigger brakes.
Yep.
You need a stronger gearbox. You
Yep.
need a better diff. You need blah, 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 blah. Up it goes. So the purity and the simplicity of the MX-5, I think, is best expressed through that lower capacity, lower power
Yeah.
engine.
Which probably explains, why Toyota hasn't upped the power too much in their 86.
And you end up
You know,
with a Supra. Like
you end up with a Supra.
They've
Exactly
got the
right.
86 and they've built a Supra.
Exactly. So they've left it alone.
And is the car, we're talking about a manual car? Or is-
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Of
good.
course, you
Yeah,
gotta go
without that,
manual.
Yeah. Very good. All right, now,
cool.
Richard,
Yes.
a different flavour of vehicle has been
Yes.
your transport recently.
Same size engine as your engine in the CX-9. It's a Subaru Forester, 2.5 litre 4-cylinder. Had it for a week. It looks just like the last one. I
There we
could
go again.
probably point out, the differences. It's got a circular fuel filler cap now, not a
Whoa.
square one.
Oh, that's a tragedy. That is seriously a tragedy. That's a travesty.
Travesty. I've been driving the 2.5i Premium, which is just below the top spec 2.5i S all-wheel drive. They're all all-wheel drive.
Does the S get the better leather
The
and
S
the real
gets,
wood?
You know what S stands for? Silver.
Silver.
Well, I've decided it stands for silver because the only difference visually between the 2.5i S and 2.5i Premium is that the S gets silver bits. It gets silver door mirror caps.
Right.
It gets silver cladding underneath the car and a silver diffuser at the back. That's it. It gets leather seats as well. They're not
So they
silver.
didn't even shoot for gold.
They didn't
They were
shoot-
happy with silver.
It's not the 2.5i G. No.
Look, silver is the first of the losers.
But one of the things which really gets my attention is the facial recognition
Oh,
that
wow.
the car has. So you get into the car and
What does it say when it sees your mug?
Well, it says "Hello, bumface" to me, and that's because you can set up the profile,
Ah.
and because I'm a 15-year-old living in a 40-year-old's body.
Yeah.
When it asked me to write a profile, of course, bumface came to mind first of all.
Nice.
Does it say it back to
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Well, it doesn't say it to you, but when you get in the car, it goes, "Good morning, bumface." Like
Okay.
this. And it will also say, keep your eyes on the road, bumface, and things like that. So what it does, it recognizes you by your face. So it's not just a memory button you press so it remembers your seating position. It will look at your face and it will go to your required seating position, your aircon will be set at the temperatures you like.
That's pretty good.
All that type of stuff. But it also keeps an eye on you when you're driving. And the entire time it's been telling me to keep my eyes on the road. But the thing is that my eyes...
What have you been doing?
No, my eyes are on the road.
Yeah.
But if you just glance down at at your wallet on the seat or something like that, it goes beep, 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 eyes on the road.
You're kidding.
So it's
a little overly officious.
It's a little overly officious. So, and even you might see someone on the side of the road and go, "Whoa, yeah,
look, a person.
Yeah, look, a person. A good-looking person.
Get your eyes on the road.
Eyes on the road. So it's very, militant.
Where's the camera located? Is it in the instrument cluster in front of you?
It's
actually about 40 cameras all through the interior.
There are a lot of cameras. You've got your regular eyesight cameras, but most of it are in the center of the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
So so it's a bit confronting from that perspective. And I just want to apologise to Subaru. I meant to delete the bum face out of it.
Oh, okay. So someone else has gone in.
Someone else has gone in there.
User error, wrong person.
You're not bum face. Yeah. So
all right.
That was fun.
Well, speaking of faces that we all know, it's time for this week's Muskwatch. Okay, so regular listeners, viewers to the podcast will know that the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US sued Elon Musk last week, claiming that he'd misled investors with his tweet about taking the company private, and in fact pushed to ban him from running any public company. So initially Musk refused to negotiate a deal, but finally agreed to step down as Tesla's chairman for 3 years and pay a US 20 million, so it's about 28 million Australian dollars fine. But his Twitter fingers were still itchy. So overnight he said, just want to, and he actually got the grammar incorrect, so I think he may have been self-medicating at the time. Just want to say that the Short Seller Enrichment Commission is doing incredible work, and the name change is so on point. So he's called the SEC, the Short Seller Enrichment Commission, because he's just absolutely obsessed with short sellers. He cannot get it out of his mind. So the man-child strikes again.
Wow.
Yeah, and want to say that according to the Bloomberg Model 3 production tracker, it sits at 4,181 this week, so up from
that's high,
up from just under 3,000 last week.
Yeah.
So it's 1,300 odd cars extra,
Yeah.
but the sixth week in a row under 5,000.
Yeah.
And remember, Elon's promised 6,000 Model 3s a week by the end of the year, that he is going to hit that number. So we've got a way to go. We've got about 3 months to go, but we've had 6 weeks in a row under 5. So it really does feel like there was a massive pull out all stops push to get a couple of weeks over 5, and the natural flow rate of the wedding marquee is about 3.5 to 4.
That's pretty. I've got to admit, when you called out that number, I was quite surprised. That's pretty good.
Anyway, we'll check in again, as we always do, next week.
Oh, fun fact. Sorry. I did some maths and I found out that $20 million fine is less than 0.01% of Elon Musk's worth.
Well, okay. Well,
So-
it's the company that pays it anyway. It won't come out of his bank account.
So what? It's like $50.
Or maybe it does come out of his bank account. Sorry, I
own
probably
money.
spoke too soon. They sued him. So, it probably is his own money. But yes, it's less than a round of drinks. Well done.
Wow.
Okay, with that, I think we've reached the finish line. Thank you, J3. And thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thanks to our producer, Marsden. We all treasure the time we don't spend with him. And thank you for listening. Please give us your thoughts on anything we've discussed today. Search for CarsGuide on Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag CGPodcast, or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. You can listen to us and watch us on YouTube. And if you're an iTunes devotee, please rate and review us. I hope you can all join us next week. Until then, as the great Stephen Wright once recounted, I had a friend who was a clown. When he died, all his friends arrived at the funeral in one car.